What makes you cry inside as a dentist? Just think of one word. You're in your dental office and something is going to make you cry inside. Something is going to make you feel like this on the inside part of your body. And that word for me is dental insurance. What does my dental insurance cover? Why don't you take my dental insurance? My sister's dental insurance covered 33 veneers. Well, your sister's a liar because you only have 32 teeth. And that is the intro to talk with my amazing friend, Nachos sponsor, Brian Phillips of Five Lakes Dental. And over the next 22 minutes, we're going to talk about how to de-stress your dental insurance life. My team has made my dreams come true. I always wanted to be a talk show host. So if you would like to learn more, text insurance to 215-543-645, where you guys get a picture of this. This is my dream. It was dunking a basketball, Brian, but I only grew to 5'9". And when you grow to 5'9", you got to get new dreams that don't involve dunking a basketball. So share with us, Brian, or in our audience about before, what do you do on a day-to-day basis to help dentists decrease stress and increase success?
I'll tell you, it focuses on one thing. And first of all, thanks for having me. I always look forward to these conversations. But what it takes, we work in the insurance world, right? But, when we were young and we're talking about what we want to do, when we grow up, we're all like, oh, let's get into insurance. But it's a frustrating experience, but it also oversees the bulk of revenue at most practices. So what we'd look to do is, like you said, demystify it. It's a tangled web. We like to untangle it. Look for what makes the insurance work better for your practice, whether that's more of it or less of it.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to also live tweet a little bit as we're going along here on Facebook Live. If you're here on Zoom or Facebook Live and you have a question, feel free to ask Brian Art. Brian, before we dig into exactly what Five Lakes does, I'm someone who works in the dental world, right? I have context of the good, the challenges, the bad, the ugly, the annoying. Just give us a minute or two on maybe an up-to-date what's going on with dental insurance. Just broad picture, right? Your thoughts. You're in this, you're an expert. Your thoughts on the dental insurance industry. What are some of the trends that are happening?
So I'm glad you asked that. It's ironic, or it's odd. The year after year, there are various things that happen in the payer world that will frustrate you or will make you happy at times. We have payer after payer that periodically will, they're realigning, right? Maybe they're raising fees or maybe they're suppressing doctors. But what we're seeing is this chess match become, the moves are going faster. The analogy with chess, you look, you ponder, then you hit the button, right? Now what's happening?
I saw Queen's Gambit. Queen's Gambit was a great show. Did you see Queen's Gambit?
Yeah, I mean, like 100%. Like, what's your first move, right? So, right now, maybe we go to negotiate, right? And we got to build a case, right? If you don't have your numbers in line and you present an eloquent case, you may get ignored. You may sit on hold, right? You may not actually be able to get many improvements. However, it is out there. Now, what we see just recently happening, which is going to affect things probably down the road a little bit further. The loss ratio initiative in Massachusetts that passed, that is something that everyone is looking to see. How do the payers react? What do they do in that market? And
catch us up there, because I did some Facebook Lives, and this is good. This is breaking nacho news. So I did a lot of Facebook Lives with the Massachusetts people, with the ADA, put things out. I donated money myself. Just break it down to us like 4-year-olds, movie Philadelphia, Washington explained, like 4-year-olds. Question number 2, meaningless. What happened in Massachusetts that has made a shift? Tell us in the most fundamentally simple terms.
Yeah. So in essence, the medical loss ratio initiative is a ballot initiative that the ADA supported, that really literally everyone was looking to support, written in a way that really favors it does not favor payers. But in essence, what it means is there's a minimum percentage that has to be paid for health, right? And that's 83% in Massachusetts. Now, what is that going to mean? Obviously the doctors excited, the ADA is excited, we're going to look for more, maybe more revenue, things like that. However, the payers, of course, are adamantly against it, right? It's a matter of like, do you understand each other's business? But when it comes to this, it's really, what's the fallout going to look like? Because in essence, the insurance world, they're business, right? They're in business for making profits, right? They're not necessarily the healthcare business. They're in it to make money. So how do they make money, right? It's the premiums, it's the arrangements with employers. And now there's this ongoing program here, or this new initiative that's going to require them to pay out more. So
it sounds though, it's like a dentist, that sounds fair, right? So businesses should have fair. I don't know if you've seen the movie Billy Madison. I've seen it many times, and he won that question on business ethics at the end. So I'm just going to ask, as we're talking, what they're asking insurance companies to do with question number 2 seems fair, right? I mean, our country, a big fan of Hamilton, the play, was strived to be built on fair practices, right? So we are basically, in Massachusetts now, insurance companies have to pay more towards claims instead of keeping for profit, right? Simple as that.
Sure. So what are some of the things that potentially could happen? Premiums are increased, and in the dental world, patient premiums or member premiums haven't really changed in a decade, right? It's always been like, we'll just leverage the doctors, and that way our clients are happy, but we can pay out less. Some of those things are going to have to start happening. Premium increases. There's a potential of maybe payers leaving a market, and then obviously that creates a whole different level of competition amongst payers that'll fill that position. There's quite a bit that could happen in that.
So that was breaking Nacho news on question number 2. Did a lot of work on that. We're talking here with Brian Phillips of 5 Lakes Dental, awesome key resource and sponsor. You want to cry less with dental insurance, text insurance to 215-543-6454. I had a dream of dunking a basketball, but this is my new dream, to motion to green screens as a 45-year-old man. So back to you, Brian. Now, let's talk about, there's a dentist out there, 45,000 members in this group as we're, at this time. They're working dental offices where they hear the word dental insurance all the time, whether they're totally fee for service or a network. Break down, what does 5 Lakes do? You're a dental practice, you're in a network with 3 or 4 spoiled guac PPOs or OK PPOs or rancid salsa PPOs, and you say, you know what, I should look at this, right? I think of it like my fitness pal for our bodies,
Sure, yeah.
What I'm eating good for me, right? Should I go to someone and be like, is 2,300 calories good? What should it look like? So we think of how we get paid as the nutritional facts of our practice.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys do from a consulting perspective when you work with dental practices?
So what we do, we work with practices all across the country, every specialty and every size and every status. So if you are out of network, we work with you. If you are a startup, maybe going through an acquisition, or you're selling, or you're becoming a group, we have programs that fit you. But what we want to look at ultimately is what are all the factors that actually influence insurance in your practice? And is that the demographics community? Is it the age of your young families or retirees? Is there is the market growing? Is it shrinking? We want to look at competitors and referral sources and see what alignment there is and what participation. Employers, see what they offer as a dental benefit. But we really want to look into like your production. What's your utilization? What type of dentistry do you want to be? Are you blooming?
First, like keeping in this fitness model, sometimes you go to a new gym and you say, I want to get ripped for summer. And they say, hold on, let's take a look at your whole body. Let's take a look at your strengths and weaknesses. So you kind of basically do a deep dive into what's happening with insurance, because I'm assuming, and I was like this too, the dental practice owner and the office manager are pretty confused themselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure.
Why is one company's paying this? So you guys basically do a big picture look at, this is what's happening in your practice. This is why it's happening. Mm-hmm. And then you create strategies. The strategies for more success, what do they look like? Is it negotiation, dropping plans, umbrella plans, all of the above? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So if you look at a few different factors, like what is a market share of a payer in your market, and how does that compare to the market share you have within that payer, to start looking for a points of potentially to negotiate. But there are options, and when you investigate like we do the entire 360-degree view of the practice, you can make recommendations beyond just can we negotiate. Like we're under the negotiation umbrella just because that's kind of like the most common term, but really at the end of the day is, can you strategically participate, and do you understand the unique rules the way the payers have in your market? Because payer rules change based on their saturation.
I do want to share something with your chess example, which I like, but is it fair to say in this game of chess, one player has no ability to influence the rules? right? In this game of chess, the insurance company, they are the rule makers, right?
Sure.
So you have to react to the rule makers, which puts you at a fairly distinct disadvantage, right? So you create more of a level playing field when at least understanding these unique rules.
Absolutely.
And you've been part of our Facebook group. You come to our events. I love hanging out with you. We've been at other events together. My message here is not to drop all your plans, sign up for all your plans. It's to make a plan about your plans. Sometimes people say, hey, Paul, why don't all dentists just drop dental insurance plans together? I say, well, two reasons. One, that would be illegal collusion. But number two, we can't agree to show up at a free Zoom meeting at the same time. So I don't think we're all going to get together and do anything together, Dennis. So you're really making the best decisions for your office. Why is the reactive, just drop all the plans, so dangerous to a practice?
So, this topic is a topic that moves the needle at a practice, right? We're talking about money here, right? At the end of the day, and how much the doctor can get back. Now, there's a lot of chatter right out there. And, when you get into a lot of chatter about, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop all my plans, or we dropped all our plans, 3 months ago and there's no issues. Well, okay. We've got to be careful, because you don't really see the difference. When you drop a plan, you don't really see anything happen for a while, 6, 8, 9 months, maybe even 18 months before you start seeing that. But when you look at other factors, like, can your market sustain you as a fee for service office? Now, what we want to look at doing is say, okay, don't just read the news, right? Depending on what you're going to watch the news that is saying what you want to hear, right? So if I am annoyed with insurance and I want to get out of it all, I might make a mistake and just drop them. I'll tell you, I have a practice, four locations, a real small group. About 3 years ago, they decided they were just going to get out of network, 100%. I meet up with the person, obviously just met, this had already happened. And, I hear the conversation, or he's telling me that, listen, I think I made a little bit too aggressive of a move.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Let's mitigate it here. Let's meter in. Maybe we do want to get rid of plants. Maybe we want to add some for the time being, or change them out. At the end of the day, this is where the strategy is, because just like the lifetime of your career, you may start out, adding more plans than you wanted. Hopefully you negotiate those from the beginning. But then as you get into like the best times of your career, maybe you start looking to trail them off a little bit. And can you sustain it? Do you have the staff?
I want to interject. You're making such good points. It starts with good knowledge up front on nutrition. If you eat Cheetos every day and then wonder why you feel sick later, it's because no one told you that Cheetos is garbage for your body, and
Sure.
that's your diet. But it's about picking plans that make sense for your office. I mean, at a very simplistic way, dental insurance is just a way to get paid for things. We have membership clubs, so I reduce my fee to patients who are part of our membership club. So it's not just saying, oh, we never reduce our fee, it's managing that reduction. But I'm assuming, you ever go to a restaurant where they put the calories on the menu and you go, well, now you've ruined the whole experience, right? I was going to get the nachos, but it's 3 days worth of calories. I mean, do you work with clients where you have to explain the pain? That's a good one. Explain the pain, where you go, hey, Dr. Smith, you are getting paid like 45% of your fee for this thing. Does that happen to you in your consultations?
All the time. We've had the way we do it. We are a very deep dive company. So we look into a lot of analytics and a lot of other factors and put together that whole strategy. We will rank out different profit impact points in a practice, and we'll identify, okay, and here are the plans and how they impact you, at least from the overall terms of like the financial impact. But if we look at each individual one and what we should do with that plan, we answer one question at the beginning. Now that you see the data and you see the impact, do we need this plan?
Right.
And if the answer is yes, then how? And what should we do with it while we're working with it? How do we negotiate? And what information do we have to know how to negotiate? Negotiation is not picking up the phone and calling and asking for more money, right? There was a big negotiation that just came true, right? Was the Brittany Griner got released from Russia, right? There was a negotiation that took months. But at the end of the day, it didn't just take a phone call to say, send her home, right? That's the same thing with insurance. You have to have the case. Here's why. Maybe here's what we can do. Now, when we look at things in that perspective, and we have this information presented to the payer, we can start showing them not only what the doctor should deserve, but also where they compare to their competitors, right? Their other, the other payers. And, in the insurance industry, it's they're frenemies, right? They're competitors and their partners in certain senses. So we look to say, do we need?
I want to interject. Is it legal for the dentist to talk about what they get paid, or illegal?
Definitely fine line. It is.
But what about insurance companies? Can they collude?
Oh, yeah. The scales are not even, right? So the insurance companies definitely have.
I got a 4-year-old in my house, Brian, and she constantly says to her sister, "That's not fair." And I want to agree with her, because just to highlight the reality of this, insurance companies can share information.
Absolutely.
And right now, it's really not okay for dentists to share information. They're trying to repeal this. It's not happening overnight, right?
Sure.
They're trying to repeal the McCarran-Ferguson Act, right? Is that what they're trying to repeal? I also I want to make a new meme for you, Brian. It's going to say, Brian Phillips explains the pain of dental insurance. So that's you. You can have it. It's for you. Explains the pain.
Explain the pain. That's it.
So in kind of keeping on track here, you first tell the dentist and their practices, whether you work with one location up to 10 locations, right? You can work with a solo office, you can work with a few offices. You say, hey, this is the deal with dental insurance, and here's a treatment plan to make adjustments to either make more money, be happier. I mean, one of the things to ask you is, do you ever encounter clients that say, we can't get a patient in for 9 weeks, but we're not making the money we want to make?
Oh, all the time. I mean, we have practices that are concerned about making payroll, and then they're looking to say, how do I, what do I need to do to improve any kind of cash flow, any kind of revenue?
And so you guys walk them through this process in a supportive way. I also want to share, I mean, there are so many great resources. You go buy a car, right? And our family brought a lot of Volvos back in the day, big Volvo family, right? So I remember going and I would see the price of the Volvo, but you could add things, onto it, like heated seats and things like that. But to get involved with you for one practice, what's the investment that they're starting at? I do 800 grand a year. I take 3 PPOs. I'm a solo GP. What am I paying to get started with Five Lakes?
Oh, yeah. Great question. So after a conversation where we kind of figure out, does it make sense for us to do business? At that basic area, the one doctor, one location, one specialty, that type of thing. It's approximately like $3,500 to do an initial assessment, and that initial assessment is a significantly, it's a deep dive, far more data points than you would ever imagine, but it's right around there. And of course, like since about 2017, we have only maybe incrementally changed those type of investments. But our program is very unique because we do 2 steps, really. It's this initial assessment, and this can be provided to a fee-for-service office that might be looking to potentially join, and they just want to see what it looks like, and we do that all the time. And then others who might either be struggling, or maybe they're doing well, and they're like, hey, give us your advice. We're booked out 9 months. What should we do? Do we drop a couple plans? Do we tweak this? Do we move the levers?
And you guys, that's an investment. And then there's like a monthly cost of, how much does that cost for a year?
Yeah. So after we present our findings and develop a strategy for you, and we provide back all that information, all that data at its core level, we then ask you, do you want us to move forward in implementing this strategy, or do you just want the data? So you can do both, but to implement, and this is negotiations, it's a year-long program, and we traditionally break it out into like a term, like a monthly payment over the course of those years. And that's about $200 a month, so $2,400.
Dentist, don't look at my cracked iPhone. I'm getting a new one. They're getting me a new iPhone, Brian. Don't judge me. I drop it quite often. I got a case, but I'm fighting with my case. I got a lot of problems over here. Mm-hmm. But for less than 1% of your $800,000 in revenue, you can pay attention to how you get paid. It is totally nacho nuts that you are not connecting with companies like this to figure out if the insurance plans you are taking make sense. There's so much yelliness on social media, and there's great conversations, but the social media dentists are not the ones dealing with this every day. And also, Brian, I was in network for years. We're now fully out of network, but we had 2 locations. I had 2 locations, 6 providers, over $2 million in revenue, right? I'm going to get a different, when they negotiated for me back in 2017, that's different than a $600,000 practice, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. It's totally different, and actually, market by market's totally different.
Right. So you can't
20 miles away is going to potentially have a whole different fee schedule and the different willingness to negotiate by each individual payer.
And then also there's $20 million DSOs that get different deals than we did. So I mean, it is impossible to figure out this stuff on your own. And whether you are someone who's looking to take more plans, drop plans, go fee for service. I mean, one of the myths I would like to dispel is someone who's now totally out of network. I don't call myself fee for service because we don't require people to pay everything up front. Yeah. Is that we get asked about insurance all the time. So being in network, out of network, you still have to have the agility to work with insurance. Tell us how you help fee for service dentists or out of network dentists.
So the way that looks is, we do that initial assessment and then compare where they're at and look at and solicit offers from payers and compare that out to where that offer should be, right? Where that fee schedule is. And then show, how many patients do you have in your practice that do have a benefit, right? The ones you file out of network claims. What would be the attrition there, like, in terms of revenue, but also, you solicit the offers, you say, here could be a strategy. Here's what it would look like. You potentially, if you are having trouble attracting, new patients, the dental insurance happens to still be one of the top ways to attract new patients, but we'll look at that assessment and say, here's what it is. If you wanted to dip your toes into the water, if you wanted to do a cannonball into the payer world, here's what it is. We would make the recommendation to say, here, because of who you are compared to the way your peers in the market, the trends in your market, your potential market share, then we'll make some recommendations. However, you have a go, no go decision at that point. I love it. Go further, or just, hey, thanks for the information, because the information in itself is worth its weight in gold. I mean,
that to me is such a valuable piece for every dentist. I mean, one of the things you said, we will wrap up in a few minutes, but the reason why patients get so frustrated when a dentist shifts status with their plan, I'll say drop, is it's an abrupt change. You have thousands of patients, and there's no way you can tell everyone one-on-one. So many times insurance companies sends letter, and they feel like you don't have their back anymore. So I'll use this example, right? And Brian, you've enjoyed being a sponsor of Dental Nachos for a few years, right? You've come to the events, you enjoy what we do. It's twice as much next year. Deal with it, right? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. But if I say, hey, Brian, for me to be able to do what I do at Dental Nachos, there's going to be a 20% increase in what your sponsorship cost is. Here's the why. That's how we managed our relationship with patients. And then we weren't tied to the outcome. If I did this with sponsors, I would say, hey, if it doesn't fit for you anymore, totally respect that. Come back to us if it does. And many say it does fit. So we've done that with patients. The best possible ability is manage the relationship with abrupt changes, or what they perceive as abrupt changes. And many dentists do not do that part well. They make patients who've seen them for years upset, and they could fix that. And I want to share, in 2014, we shifted status with a really bad teacher plan because we just couldn't take it anymore, right? We had like personal conversations. We sent letters. 90% of the patients left. And the reason was there was good dentists down the street that took the plan. But now we shifted status this year, and I would say 50% stayed, because that's more annoying to change during a pandemic. So sure. You never know the outcome. So I think your deep dive into what's happening is awesome. Your fees are reasonable. Tell us, as we wrap up, a success story. Someone who's like, this dentist wasn't sure any of this would work. This dentist was skeptical. Yesterday, Brian, there was a great guy on Nachos, Josh, there's a $500,000 associate position, which is totally real, right? There's a dentist in Utah on Dentist Job Connect who was replacing an associate that made $556,000 last year. This dentist who doesn't need a job goes, I don't think this sounds true. And I said, you see how skeptical we are? We went to dental school and we're skeptical of everything. You know what he wrote back? He goes, even my emotional highs I deal with cautious optimism, right? So us dentists, we got problems, at least 99. Sure. Tell us about a dental client, you don't have to use their name, wasn't so sure, said I'm going to do it, and now the impact has been awesome.
Oh, I mean, you pretty much told the story. It does happen a lot. We have like, I want to talk about like a 4-location group here, but I have a private practice that was doing pretty good, 1.1, something like that. And, they were having a lot of issues with how do they manage their fee schedules? Their staff had so many different fee schedules. They were in network with everything and didn't even know that there were some that they were in, and it was just a mess. And there was a lot of like apprehension. It's like, oh, I don't want to invest that amount of money. The threshold to overcome the investment is exceptionally low. We wouldn't have been able to do this for 13 years and I've done it 30,000 times if the juice wasn't worth the squeeze here. But we have this one practice where their increase, and this is probably going back to like 19 when they first came on board, was an immediate $10,000 extra dollars every month.
Yeah.
Just by that, this fee schedule. Now, over time, and they wanted to implement slowly. They wanted to, let's go with, let's consider a new plan, but not 15, or, let's negotiate with this one, and then maybe change the way we access the network. And that, is through credentialing and optimizations. But that $10,000 then is same thing with the following year.
Yeah.
And by the time we got to that, it was time to negotiate again. And the payer world had changed. And it does every couple of months, right? These two payers got married, these other two got divorced, and now those two are together, and they make different rules. So we have been able to continuously work with this client and continuously improve and put them, using the chess analogy, right in that place where they're, like, okay, I keep putting the payer back in check, right? They're going to keep moving it around too, but those results are numerous. I
mean, what's cool about that is, you should call it an annuity for awesomeness, because you keep getting to make this money year after year for doing the same exact work, right? Unless you could remove calories from my favorite food, Brian, that is the number one thing I would like someone to do for me. I mean, you've shared so much value. We have you can text this number to learn more about what Brian Phillips does with 5 Lakes. Text insurance to 215-543-6454. But if someone wanted to reach out to you directly, Brian, how could they do that?
So I think the best way to do is go to the 5 Lakes website, and we do have a landing page for Nachos. It's www.5lakespro.com/nachos. It is probably the best way to do that. You can go and you could request a meeting. We'll do a 20-30 minute conversations, just kind of like this. We'll dive a little bit into the practice. I'll show you what it looks like moving forward, timeline, schedules, all that kind of stuff, what to expect, and then if it makes sense for us to do business, then let's do it.
I like it. Well, that's Brian Phillips explaining the pain of dental insurance. That's your new catchphrase. I explain the pain of dental insurance. Thanks so much for being on. If you want to reach out to us for any reason, just reach out to us at dentalnachos.com. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.